Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. My name's Mark. If you don't know me, I'm a fluid artist and I am here in England. And for those of you that have been following me and watching my journey as I progress, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your support. Okay, so today I'm going to do a piece with just 5 colours. I'm going to use a copper and a gold because I love my metallics, but I'm also going to use a buff titanium, a Prussian blue and a turquoise blue. And I'm going to puddle those paints on a canvas. I'm going to swipe through and I'm going to use a marble to create some different designs on top. I love this technique, and if you've seen some of my previous designs, I asked for some ideas on what kind of colour palettes to use. So I've got a really long list of ideas. Thank you so much for all of your input, I really appreciate it. And I'm going to just have a bit of a play around with some of those colour palettes and explore some really different techniques and different creations as we go on throughout 2023. I'm really excited for this piece, and let's see what we can create. Today I'm using an 18 by 14 inch canvas, and these are my 5 colours. So I've got a Prussian blue by Amsterdam, I've got iridescent gold by Pebeo, I've got copper, iridescent copper by Pebeo, a blue turquoise by Amsterdam, and a buff titanium by Amsterdam. I'm going to take each colour in turn, just one by one, and I'm going to puddle the paints onto the canvas. I'm focusing on the centre and working my way outside to the edge of the canvas. I don't really want much of my paint on the edges because as I tilt and stretch the design out later on, those colours will be pushed to the edge and down the side. So I'm mainly focusing on puddling the paints in the middle of the canvas. The colour palette that I'm using really wants me to project a calming feeling. And that's what I'm really going to take away from this piece. But as I create, I'm just focusing on what I'm doing. I'm not rushing the process. I'm not worried about what I'm going to do later on. I'm literally in the here and now, and I'm focusing on just this task in hand. When I paint, it's my escapism, and it's something that I love to do when I want to de-stress and unwind from a busy or a hectic day. And I'm sure some of you can also relate to that. I think we turn to arts, crafts and creativity to almost allow us to turn off our autopilot and concentrate on something that we enjoy, something that we love to do and something that we're passionate about. Now I have my paints on the canvas, I'm going to use titanium white mixed with Australian Floetrol to create some lacing. So later on, when I stretch out that design, I have a combination of block colour, some lacing and some lines that are created by using the marble. And when I do my swipe, I don't press down too hard. I just allow the palette knife to glide across the surface of the paint. Now for me, this part of the process is probably one of my favourites. I've placed the marble in the centre of the canvas, and as you can see, I've lifted it up slightly and I'm just tilting it in directions to move the marble. The thickness of the paint and the pouring medium allows that marble to slow down. It's hopefully not going to whiz off the canvas onto the table. If it does, don't worry, just pick it back up and place it back on your canvas. But the whole point of me using the marble here in this part of the process is because I want to create some lines, and those lines will help with the overall movement and the balance of block colour, lacing and lineage. Let's take a quick look at some of that detail before we stretch it out. And guys, I already love the pattern that it's made on the surface, but let's stretch it out now and see what kind of pattern we can create by tilting the canvas from side to side. I'm using some gloves to protect my skin on my hands. Because there's pouring medium in this, it's actually a lot more difficult to scrub off your hands if you get it all over yourself. So that's why I'm using gloves here. So I'm just going to tilt it out. And one thing that I would like to say, and this works for me, is I pick up the canvas and get an idea of the weight of the paint and where it is. We've puddled it in the middle, so of course the main part of it will be in the middle. But when I stretch it out and tilt my canvas, I turn the canvas around and I move the paint back into the middle to allow me to stretch out the pattern even more. As I'm doing this, I really notice the areas that I'd like to keep and the areas that I might not be so fond of and I'm happy to tilt over the edge. You'll see throughout this process that I do move the canvas around quite a bit. I'm looking to see if the layer on top is consistent. If I'm happy with one area, then I will move on to the next area. But when I do that, I'm moving the paint as I go. I move the paint into the middle, move the canvas round, and then start tilting again. And that really helps me create the composition that I'm looking for in this piece. I really want that balance of block colour, lacing, and lines. So by taking my time to do this, it allows me the time to really look at that creation on top and really look at that pattern. And if there's something you don't like, just push it off over the edge. But remember to move the paint back on itself again to allow you enough paint on the surface to move the creation and the pattern around as you tilt. And this part of the process is very much looking at the composition and the overall design that you're creating on your canvas. It's looking at the balance of the piece. So here I'm looking at all that copper block on the bottom. I really do love the colour, but I feel like the block is a little bit too wide. So I decide to tilt a little bit more of it off the edge. And that allows me to create that balance between the copper and the gold, the blues and the buff titanium. I absolutely love this piece, so I only think it's fair to do my happy dance. Why not? Join me. I'm really happy with this piece, and it's really important that you celebrate when you've done a piece to really celebrate your achievement and to be happy with what you've created. The close-up here shows you that balance of the lines here that were created by moving the marble on the surface of the canvas and tilting it out, the blocks of colour and the lacing. And this is why I really love this technique, because it allows such different patterns on the surface of the canvas, and you can really stretch that design out and have more lines if you like, or more lacing, or even more block colour. But I love this series that I'm doing, and I can't wait to do even more with so many different colour palette ideas. I'll take you in for a close-up of the dry version, and guys, I am so proud with how it's turned out. It's dried beautifully, and I really love the details that I managed to capture. I've really loved working with this colour palette as well, so I think I'll revisit this again later on in the year. But having that balance of the lines and the lacing with the block colour really makes this piece speak to me. And I almost kind of get a Navajo feeling from this. That's the kind of vibe that I get. And I'd love to know what you think of this and what kind of feelings and vibe you get from this piece. So if you don't mind sharing, then drop in the comments below what you think about this piece and the vibe that you get from it. I'll leave you with some more of the detail, but thank you so much again for joining me this week, and I hope you have a great week. And I really look forward to showing you some of the further pieces that I've already designed with the colour palette suggestions that you've provided. Take care everyone, and see you soon. Bye.